I recently saw this interview clip with Steve Lombardi, the Brooklyn Brawler, speaking with James Romero. As many know, WSI Wrestling Shoot interviews. And sad to say, this lifelong jobber in the WWF has to stoop down to flat out lying to get himself over. It's a complete embarrassment. And as a wrestling fan, it's an insult. You expect a shoot interview to be truth, not to be lies. And there's two major lies that he tells during this segment. Let's get right to it.
The Ultimate Warrior came in as the Dingo Warrior. He wasn't a star at all. They put him with me. He wrestled me 47 consecutive days.
And that's the first lie he told. Let's continue on here. We'll get into this as we move forward with the video.
Had nothing. He had nothing. He all he had was run to the ring, shake the ropes, do this, do that. But I got a friendship with him. I had a friendship with him. They weren't sure they were going to make him a star or not. One day they decided we're going to change his name from Dingo. What the hell is a dingo? He didn't even know what a dingo was. He changed it to Ultimate Warrior. Now they start building him, but they keep me with him. I keep wrestling him and wrestling him and wrestling him. So one of the agents or producers, whatever they call them, they change the words all the time. They came up to me and they said, we're going to have you beat Ultimate Warrior tonight. They says, to test his attitude. We want to see how he reacts to you beating him. So me being the friend that I was to him, I took him in a room and I said, Jim, I said, they're going to test you tonight. They're going to ask you to lose to me. Say yes, anything you want. That's what I told him. And he did it. And he let me beat him. So that tested his attitude. He passed that test.
So Steve Lombardi claims that he beat the Ultimate Warrior as a part of a test. Now let's take a look here. As you can see, the website Cage Match, the Internet Wrestling Database, gives very detailed results of the Ultimate Warrior's career. Let's scroll down here and see what we find out. And obviously wrestling as a Dingo Warrior before becoming the Ultimate Warrior. Let's take a look here. His very last match with World Class Championship Wrestling, as you can see here, it was June 12th, 1987. His very first match with the WWF, June 17th, 1987, and it was Steve Lombardi. But here's the major issue. Steve Lombardi made the claim that he wrestled the Ultimate Warrior 47 days consecutively. Well, that's broken after 2 nights. One in Wichita Falls, Texas, and then the very next night in Odessa, Texas. And then, again, the Dingo Warrior, he wrestled Jose Estrada in a dark match in Market Square Arena in Indianapolis, Indiana. If you look at the details, very quickly you'll see this entire 47-day consecutive wrestling of the Ultimate Warrior versus Steve Lombardi never happened. Now let's take a look here at page, as I scroll down to the bottom here. Let's take a look at what we see on page 8. And let's scroll down to the bottom of page 8 and take a look here at all the matches. Again, there's no way that Steve Lombardi is telling the truth of this 47 consecutive days of wrestling the Ultimate Warrior. You see Steve Lombardi sporadically throughout, as you see many wrestlers. Again, Jose Estrada. You see Steve Lombardi several times. Dan Spivey, Barry Horowitz, Rip Oliver, and so forth. The point being is anybody can go on Cage Match, the Internet Wrestling Database, and take a look at all the information. And what it comes down to, from 87 to 88, you can look at all the matches that the Ultimate Warrior had. And if you count them all down, there was a total of 18 matches that Steve Lombardi had with the Ultimate Warrior, and not one single point does it state anywhere that Steve Lombardi beat the Ultimate Warrior. And that gets back to Steve Lombardi and all of his other interviews he's conducted. The sad reality is you can't trust anything this man says. I'm not saying everything he says is a lie, but definitely it puts a huge question mark over his interviews that he's done. And the sad thing is the Ultimate Warrior no longer around, and no way to verify anything Steve Lombardi says regarding the Ultimate Warrior. It's a very sad situation, and it brings me to this. Another individual, another liar, playing the fans, playing the interviewers as fools, and this is pretty pathetic. Take a listen to what Tammy, a.k.a. Sunny, says here.
You know how many shoot interviews I've done, not with you, but with someone else, that I've completely made up stories to make it sound interesting, and they were completely made up off the top of my head.
And I think what's going on here, obviously, is a lot of these individuals involved with the pro wrestling industry, they're used to working the fans. They've done it for many years, and they continue to do it during these shoot interviews. Shame on both of them. And even worse is Tammy. We all know the situation. She's in prison right now, locked up for a very long time. Steve Lombardi claims to beat the Ultimate Warrior, and the evidence shows that never happened.